Okay, welcome, Dr. Miaken Zeigler of Zeigler Chiropractic, and today is a core topic of spinal hygiene. And when we talk spinal hygiene, we talk about movement, we talk about rehabilitative things that you can do to help restore a curve. We talk about chiropractic care. We talk about all different things. Tonight, we're talking about foam rolling. And I think foam rolling is a really great supplement to your care to support the health of your neuromuscular system. Because of the life we lead, we have poor patterning, postural distortions, poor biomechanics. And when you introduce foam rolling into your regimen, it really supports you enhancing your pattern, a more aligned state. So let's get into it with understanding foam rolling. So when we talk about foam rolling, we're really addressing something called fascia. And fascia is a connective tissue that covers every muscle, groups of muscles, from your head to your toes. So I want you to think about fascia as this mesh-like layer of connective tissue, interweaves through and around your musculature to cover muscles, groups of muscles, blood vessels, organs, nerve fibers, and bone. So fascia, when you read into it, they talk about it having its own nervous system like response, because you can hold tone, you can hold trauma and stress within your fascial layer, and it can cause stress to the body. And so when you think about fascia, I want you to think about, shrink wrap your entire internal structure like a second skin. Okay, it covers everything. And you don't have 600 muscles, but you have a single muscle in 600 fascial pockets. Okay, so it's one mind, one muscle, one fascial web. Okay, so your body is an ecosystem. We talk about ecosystem in terms of, you can't affect one area of the body without affecting the other. Fascia is a whole web of systems where what's going on with your foot impacts what's going on with your foot, just because of that interweaving of the entire system. And we'll watch a video here in just a second. But we talk about compensation due to trauma or micro trauma, right? It's easy to think about the big traumas that we experience, right? It's easy to remember, but it's oftentimes the small ones that we don't even think about as traumas, like a fall that you had, a week ago, a twinge in the back, when you reach behind you to grab something out of, your car, a stiff neck after you wake up from sleeping in an odd position, right? A sprained ankle, where you start walking on a sprained ankle and hundreds of thousands of steps in that altered gait pattern. That's where we start to create compensations, right? And these compensatory movements and patterns that we take on are really to avoid pain, right? And when we avoid pain, we avoid that altered movement, the absorption of force and that impact start to create malaligned patterns and poor posture and limitations within our movement. So our body and brain are always looking for the path of least resistance, right? So I just went over a cervical range of motion video and how to properly go through cervical range of motion. But I think if you've ever had any type of neck pain, you know that instead of going into full range of motion, if you have stress through your cervical spine, your body is going to go through the path of least resistance. So you might get here and then the whole system will turn, right? Or you might get here and then you start to turn and laterally flex as you go into that movement, because your body is going through the path of least resistance to avoid pain and stress to a system. And so with each trauma, your body adapts and adapts some more, and layering compensation on top of compensation until it runs out of options. And as you go through this layered stress and these adaptations, it starts to stretch and tighten the interconnected web of fascia, right? And this is just one layer of the system, right? You've got the fascial layer, the musculoskeletal layer, you've got the neurology and the nervous system, how it's perceiving and adapting to your world. You've got, feet and pronation and dropping of the arches. So all of these pieces, that's where it is an ecosystem. So addressing the fascia can be really amazing in contributing and supporting the care that you're getting through chiropractic. So I want to share a different screen here. So I'm going to transfer over because I want you to see a video, short video. It's 2 minutes long. And let me make sure I share my sound. And this will help you understand the fascial system a little bit easier. So let me make sure we're here. Okay, here we go.
So this is a tensegrity structure. It was my great good fortune to work and study with Buckminster Fuller early in my life before I became a body worker. And he was the fellow who developed the geometry. Kenneth Snelson, the artist, first started making these kinds of structures. What I'd like you to notice about these is that the dowels, the bones of this structure, if you will, are floating in space, and they are held in space by the balance of the elastics, the muscles and the fascia, the myofascia, if we were doing an analogy to the body. So these structures, we're not used to looking at structures like this. This is similar to a balloon, maybe. But otherwise, we're used to structures that are continuous compression, like houses. So we structured our body as if it were a continuous compression structure too. We think the head sits on the neck and the head and the neck sit on the torso, and that it's like a stack of bricks all the way down to the ground. But in fact, the bones, well, at least we could consider it this way, the bones float inside the soft tissue. And when you start seeing the body this way, you see a lot of things. You see how the problem in the hip can really be founded in the arch, that the problem in this side of the neck is down at the bottom of the rib cage on the other side, because you start seeing how the interrelationships of things start working in the body. So Ida Rolf used to say, where you think it is, it ain't. And this tensegrity gives you a model where you can see, oh, if this pulls over here because the whole structure gives into it, the pain might be over here somewhere. And we're looking for ways of modeling this that would be predictive so that we could say, okay, if you have this kind of problem, then we should look in specific places to help sort that. But this kind of model for the body really has a whole new way of thinking about ourselves that is not the usual muscles on the bones kind of model.
Okay, so I loved that short video there, just because it starts to give you an idea of the ecosystem of the body. And we go back to my presentation here. Let me know if you can't see this. But when we're talking about impact to a structure, whether it's at the ankle or at the shoulder, understand that you're impacting the whole. And I love to think of fascia like a spider's web. Okay. If you pull on one side of that spider web, it distorts the entire shape of the other side. And as it changes the shape along the lines of tension that we create with our tug, the same thing happens with our fascia. So when you have an injury that happens, it creates restriction that develops in one area, but it affects a rippling effect along the lines of tension in other parts of the body. And so that's where, if you fall backwards onto your pelvis, you may start to experience pain, up into your shoulder or up into your neck. And the system is really important, right? It absorbs impact, so it protects all your vital organs. And if you don't address where that tension and tone is coming from, it can cause greater and greater effects over time as your body continues to adapt and create compensatory mechanisms, to help you continue to survive and respond to the world, right? And then we have breakdown. So that's where foam rolling can be really great to address and introduce, balance into your body. So why foam rolling and how it relates to spinal hygiene and your brain? By addressing fascial adhesions or trigger points, again, you're addressing those stress or tension points within your fascial network. And so you can allow and create more balance into that system, which will affect everything, right? And improving your neuromuscular patterning, improving your posture, your alignment, your balance, all of those pieces contribute to a body that is healthier in how it moves and how it carries yourself. And bigger picture, when you are experiencing the world more upright, more balanced, guess what? Your brain is better able to process and use higher executive function for you to experience the world, right? For you to be more balanced, to respond to the craziness of life and not have swings of, major emotional swings, right? That is, whoopsies, what did I do there? Sorry, let's go back to where I was. That's oftentimes not something we really think about, is how our emotions can impact our experience and how our brain processes things, right? But just improving our posture, our structure, our balance, that impacts our world around us. Increasing your range of motion, your movement, your flexibility. It also helps with pain, right? It helps give you some relief. It's certainly supportive with chiropractic, massage therapy, your exercise movement program. And I think it's an important tool in your self-care regimen. So when you introduce foam rolling, you're addressing past traumas, and you're also addressing how your body has been compensating over time to create more adaptable, more resilience, more balanced structure. Okay, so there are rules to foam rolling. Okay, you always follow the rules. Okay, we're going to go through 3 major muscle groups that I consider really important when it comes to spinal hygiene, but I want to make sure you understand the rules. First, you always start at the origin and you move through to the insertion. Okay, you're not going to start in the middle of a muscle. You're going to start through the entire muscle. Okay, this will make sense as we go back, we go to the next slide. And what you're going to do is you're going to move slowly through that muscle. So if you ever see anybody who's foam rolling at the gym, a lot of times you'll see, they are like moving and grooving on that foam roller. It feels really good, but they're not getting any therapeutic benefit from that foam roller, because where you get benefit with foam rolling is moving slowly through the muscle, finding a tender spot or trigger point, and then you just hang out on that trigger point until you feel it dissipate, or up to 90 seconds. Okay, so you're going to slowly move through that muscle at the starting point and to where it ends, and you're going to get to a tender spot and you're going to hang out there. Okay, sometimes it's a really large muscle, and so that's where you break it up into quadrants. Again, sometimes everything is really tender, and so you're just going to start small and work your way up to getting bigger parts of that muscle. Because if you hit all of those things and you spend 30 minutes on, say, your glute muscle, it could be really challenging and stressful. So you're going to ease into this. And depending on your activity level, I really like to foam roll 3 to 5 times a week, sometimes more, depending on what's going on in your world and stressors. Now, I just want to show you this next slide here. Okay. I consider the glute medius, or the glute max, well, the glute's made up of 3 muscles. I consider that to be a major spinal hygiene group. And so you'll see here that your glutes attach all the way up to this iliac crest here. Okay.
Sorry, we're not able to see the slide.
Oh, well, I want you to. So, okay, let's just try this over. Thank you. Has it been this whole time you haven't been able to see it? Mike, is that okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, bummer. Okay, I apologize for that.
No worries.
No worries. You see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So, all right. So I consider the glute muscles to be an important part of your spinal hygiene structure. And so I want you just to look at this. So I have a picture of me, and I want you to see where your iliac crest is. That is this guy right here. You guys can see my mouse, right? My arrow here. You can see that here? Okay. So your glute attaches all along this upper crest, all the way down to your sacrum into your tailbone. Okay, and it wraps around, we're going to go to this right side, it wraps around to your femur head over here and lower down, depending on where you are with this big one, glute max right here. So when you are going back to the rules of foam rolling, you always start at the origin. So you're going to start up here and you're going to work your way down to the insertion point. Now this is a big group. So that's where you can start way up here, drop it down, and then you can start more towards the sacrum and foam roll over, right? This is deeper into the pelvis. So the glute overlays all of these guys. This is a really important one right here. This is called your piriformis. It's the only external rotator of the hip. So if this is your foot, it's the only muscle that'll pull your toe outwards and externally rotate your hip. And so your sciatic nerve pierces through this piriformis in 37 or 30% of people. Otherwise, it goes right underneath it. So sometimes if you have any type of stress through this area, if you address this area going to the piriformis, then of course, you know, the glutes overlap that. Sometimes it can really give you some nice relief. And what we know about tensegrity and your fascial system, when you address what's going on through this area, it can impact higher up into the body. So I just want you to see this because this is where my iliac crest is, and this is where my femur head is. A lot of times people think they go right to the meat of the glute, and that's where they're going to foam roll. Nope, I want you to start up higher. So I've actually got a video that I'm going to show you. Let me see if I can find it here. And if you can give me some feedback to make sure that, you know, you do see the screen, that would be great. Because I want you to be able to see this. So, come on here.
You see the screen.
You can see the screen?
We can see it.
Okay, excellent. So we're gonna go right here. Got a video that we're gonna watch. See if I can make this bigger. Go.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler. Now we are going to foam roll through your pelvis into your glutes and piriformis. So when we're working on your glutes, you have to go up to the top of your iliac crest. So a lot of people like to start down lower, but your muscles to this pelvis attach all the way up top of this crest. So you're always going to start at the origin and then roll where the insertion goes, whether it's through the hip down to the ischial tuberosity or the sits bone, or starting along the sacrum and rolling through. So this is where we're going to hang out when we're foam rolling through glute max, glute med, those gluteus muscles, and then into your piriformis. So with your glutes, now I'm going to be on this right side here. So again, I'm making sure, actually let me show you this way. I'm making sure that I'm starting at the top of my crest, okay? And I'm just gonna hang out here as I roll all the way through to my sits bone. Now, the glute is a big muscle, so you can break this up into quadrants so you can get the inner and outside of the glute. Okay, but I'm rolling all the way through to the sits bone. Again, as you do this, you're gonna do it slowly. When you find one of those tender spots, you're just gonna hang out there for 90 seconds, or if it dissipates, whichever is sooner, okay? So I was right along the meat of the muscle, again, starting at the top of my crest. You can rotate, and again, go to top of the crest, making sure you're getting the outside of the glute, and roll down to that sits bone, okay? Now to hit the piriformis is the only external rotator of the hip. What you'll do for that one, I'll go straight on for this. Again, doing the same right side, you're gonna cross, if you're doing the right side, you're gonna cross that right leg or right ankle over your left knee, and then you're gonna rotate. So you're gonna start at the sacrum. So you're gonna be more, position that foam roller right at the sacrum, which again is that middle bone, sacrum, then you're gonna rotate to the So I'm gonna be right in the middle of the glute. So I'm not starting at the crest this time. Cross my ankle and I'm rotating my body over to the hip here. Okay? And to be able to get all the way to the hip, you're gonna wanna make sure you have enough foam roller. So you adjust your body and where it's positioned. Okay, and as you get to the hip, you're all the way on the outside, you can shift that foam roller up or down to get those spots along the hip. Okay? This can be tender. Again, to do the other side, make sure you're in the middle of that glute and you're rotating your body over. Okay, so it's not always moving the foam roller, it's oftentimes moving your body. Okay, so there's your glutes and there is your piriformis. And again, just make sure you're hitting all the way into the top of the pelvis, rolling down, into the meat, rolling out, and then playing with your positioning and how you're seated on that foam roller to really hit the whole muscle. So.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that there because I want to make sure that we can get to these other groups. Again, I'm just going to reinforce the rules of foam rolling because, again, it's really important origin to insertion and slowing down as you're going through the foam rolling piece. And as you saw me, you can use your body to rotate on that foam roller, or you can use a foam roller to really do a lot of that movement. Okay. So this next one that I want to show you, I'm actually going to go to your suboccipitals. So with your suboccipitals, oftentimes, if you've got this forward head carriage, these suboccipitals are so contracted and so tight. They're constantly working to hold that head back right at the base of your head. And this is a really nice one. So if you're working at your desk all day, you feel tension, if you have tension headache, this is a really nice one to address. And I just pointed this out here. So this occipital ridge, this is your occiput attaches from your mastoid, which is right behind the ear, that boniness, that's your mastoid. And if you follow that along, it goes up and around your occipital ridge here. Okay. And there's about 2 finger widths between these two. And you'll get to C1 and C2, which is where most of your suboccipitals attach. Okay. So I want to show you this video of doing the suboccipital. It's actually a pretty short one, but an easy one. And it can feel really amazing when you do this with the foam roller. So let's share here. My Google Drive is a little slow, so I apologize for that. Let's, how do I move this out of here? See if it's the next one. Oh yeah, perfect.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler, and now I want to foam roll through your paraspinals, and your paraspinals are your erector.
Not that one. We're going to end with that one because that's a biggie. We're going to go to your suboccipitals here. Let's just go back here, make sure I'm showing you the right one. Here you go. Thanks for your patience, you guys.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler, and I want to show you how to foam roll your suboccipitals. Now again, with your suboccipitals, it's around this ridge of your occiput, and they attach from the ridge and the mastoid right behind the ear down to C1 and C2. So with foam rolling, you can move on the foam roller where the foam roller actually rolls, or you can actually rotate and move your body and do foam rolling that way. So with this guy, you are going to put your foam roller right at the base of your head, okay? And when you're foam rolling your suboccipitals, you're just gonna rotate your head from the spinous, so from the center of your spine, all the way out towards your ear, okay? You can rotate up and down, move your body a bit down to get higher up along the suboccipitals, along the occipital ridge, or you can move your body back and again rotate through. Okay, if I'm doing the other side, I go all the way through. I'm going through this pretty quickly, but again, once you hit that spot, you're gonna hang out there for 90 seconds. You'll feel that this feels really nice, especially if you've been sitting in a desk all day, if you've got a headache or feeling some tension through the back of your spine. Adjusting through your suboccipitals feels nice. You can also do some extension right in the center, and then you can rotate through. So just see how it feels as you go through your cervical ranges of motion, going into extension, into flexion, rotation, or even some lateral flexion, okay? To just address those suboccipital fibers, okay? So there's foam rolling for your suboccipital.
All right, so I love that one. This one looks like you're not doing anything. As I was foam rolling, I thought, man, this feels really nice. And so with you just laying on a foam roller, just going through your ranges of motion there, it can be really fantastic as far as addressing that upper cervical tension that you typically feel just from the activities that you do. So it is 6:16. I want to go over one more before I end this. I will be recording this and sending it out. If you guys, I want to honor your time because I know I started a little bit late. So if you need to leave, I understand. We'll make sure you get this recording. But I do want to go through the paraspinals. Now, the paraspinals are your erector spinae muscles. So when they contract, you go into extension, and when they relax, you can go into flexion. And they attach all the way up at your suboccipitals. You know, your suboccipital, that occipital ridge that we just went over. Let's move this guy over. All the way to your iliac crest down into your sacrum. You can even see segments into your tailbone. So they're made up of three. We say, I love spaghetti, your iliocostalis, your longissimus, and your spinalis. Your erector spinal made up of three that start towards the spine and they go all the way out. When you address these, it can be really wonderful to get healthy movement into your spine. And again, I just want to show you what it looks like on my body because they go all the way from here all the way down. Typically, people want to stay right in this mid-back or back region. You got to hit all of it, okay? So this is the longest video. And you can really play with it when you're going through your foam rolling of your erector spinae, because you can just introduce a lot of different movements to that. But I want to make sure that we go through that. So let me make sure we are at the right one. Okay, you guys can see, right? Thumbs up. See, okay, let's get this going here.
Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler, and now I want to foam roll through your paraspinals. And your paraspinals are your erector muscles that attach all the way from the occiput all the way down to the base of your sacrum. Okay, you have layers of these that go from outside of the spine to the inside towards the spine. Okay, so when I say outside, it's outer layers and then move in. So we're going to start with working through the lumbars, paraspinals, and work our way up into the thoracic, upper thoracic, into the neck. So again, you don't need this foam roller that has a little gap here for the spinous. Sometimes it's nice, but depending on how firm your foam roller is, sometimes this can be a little tender. So you may want to choose a foam roller that's medium firm, not all the way firm, not so rigid, okay? And with the foam roller, okay, I'm actually going to start by just sitting and putting it right at the base, almost like I'm leaning back into it, okay? So I'm sitting on my sits bones, and I'm just going to lean back, get my elbows or my hands here, and use your body as leverage to see how much pressure you want to put down into the foam roller here. So, again, what I'm doing is just sitting here, resting my body back into the foam roller, and I'm just going to hang out here. And I'm going to extend up higher into my lumbar spine. And I'm going to start rolling so you can see how my hips are actually coming off the ground. What you can do here is you can do some pelvic tilts just to see how that feels. Use your arms as leverage points. Pelvic tilts here as you work your way up. Now, to get some nice extension into your thoracic spine, you're going to again, rest your glutes down on the floor, and then you can extend over. And here I'm getting into my thoracolumbar area. There can be a lot of stress through here because your spine actually changes in terms of anatomy. So sometimes you hold a lot of stress through here. So again, just use your body as leverage to extend back over the spine here. And I'm going to lean further down. Not a great shirt to do this in. And again, my glutes are just resting here. And you can play with how much pressure you want. I'm getting into my mid-thoracic spine. And you can just play with your arms. And it's nice to have just a rest for your head here. And again, drop your hips down, extend back. See how that feels for you. Okay, so you just work your way up to other areas of the spine. So let me get under this chair here so you can see as I'm getting up higher. So now I'm into my neck here. And with this neck, I mean, this foam roller is hitting the entire neck. So really it's about just using your ranges of motion, flexion and extension, using your body just to see how you can get movement into that lower neck and then into the upper neck. Okay? So you can see I'm flexing and extending my chin to get to those paraspinals, which are meant to, when they contract, they extend you, and when they relax, they can go into flexion. So again, with these paraspinals, it's really about playing with your body's posture and the foam roller and how you can move on it. If you want to get some extension and flexion, use your arms, use sitting, and your pelvis lifting up or down as leverage to see how well you do with placing pressure along those muscles there. So really important, especially when we're looking at opening up the body to get you into extension, because everything pulls you forward. So try it at home and let me know how you do when I see.
Okay, so I hope you guys could hear that. All right. Here's the thing with foam rolling. I think a lot of times it just comes with you practicing with your foam roller to see what feels comfortable. And again, always go back to the rules. You're going to slow it down. You're going to hang out on those tender spots, and you're going to go from the top or the origin of the muscle all the way down. With the erector spinae, you know, I mean, I started at the lower and went up to the upper. Sometimes you can break these up just in upper back, mid back, low back. You don't need to do the whole thing, but I think it's just about getting movement into your spine and into your body, addressing those fascial stressors to help support how your body's compensating. One other thing I want to add, because you can use foam rollers. We didn't get into foam rollers. Typically, I would pick a medium to firm, but you can also use tennis balls. They can be really nice to use in specific areas along the piriformis or along the glutes where you just sit on it. You can sit on a chair or sit on a mattress that'll soften that foam roller, that will help you address some of the trigger points that we see through your fascial system, but also can, again, give you some relief and improve your flexibility. So I hope this was helpful. I think that's the end of my slideshow. But again, just really understanding the, I think, rules of foam rolling are so important. And once you start to see just how to foam roll muscle groups, you can look them up online pretty easily and say, okay, this is where I'm going to start. Where is it on my body? This is where I'm going to start, and this is where I'm going to work through to that insertion point, and just slow it down and enjoy your foam rolling. It's going to be a great additive to or addition to supplement your chiropractic care. So I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with me and going long today. If you have questions, bring them into the office, and you know, I look forward to supporting you there. All right, take care, Dr. Miaken Zeigler.